5 years. That was before they raised the streets and sidewalks. So let's do this in progression. This will help you think through this. First part of the project, the buildings went up. Now on your side, that's the basement of one of the buildings built after the fire, 5 stories high, and it went up in only 3 years. Then on this side, we've got one of the new streets with 10-foot high stone walls. No one sees a problem here. We have a problem here. It's a matter of levels. Even though the merchants knew about building up, they decided to rebuild down. So here's a new scenario. Your brand new streets are now anywhere from 10 to 30 feet above your sidewalks. Well, don't worry, folks. We always have solutions in Seattle. So the solution to this problem was to put ladders at the corners of the streets. And this is how you shop in old Seattle. If you wanted to shop from a new street to an old sidewalk, trip to the corner, downstairs, or a ladder, once you got down there, you were fine. You could shop along one side of the street. But think about it. If you wanted to shop across the street, back to the corner, up a ladder, across the new street, back down, another ladder. And remember, the walls down here are only 10 feet high. If you go up the hills, they're as high as 30 feet. That's power shopping. It gets even better. This part of town, Pioneer Square, has always been the saloon part of town. Guys that come out of the saloons about 3 or 4 in the morning, possibly impaired, and they would literally fall off the new streets down to the old sidewalks to their deaths. Which, if you think about it, it's a one-step program. I apologize. One more major problem. Yes, they were new streets, but they still had bumps and potholes. Delivery trucks or lorry trucks would come down the streets, hit a bumper or pothole, and huge barrels would fall off the trucks, down to the old sidewalks, and literally crush shoppers to death. We speculate that anywhere from 15 to 20 shoppers died in a 5-year period due to Seattle's new street and sidewalk configuration. Well, at some point, the merchants got tired of losing their customers to barrels. They went back to the city and said, okay, city, we get this. This is not going to work. But you need to fix this. But please, try to make it quick, try to make it cheap. City actually delivered on both premises. Now, this visually is the key to the whole story. It's the way they built the sidewalks. Look above, not the gray beam, go higher. You see a rusted out I-beam. The way they built the new sidewalks, they ran the I-beams a foot into the side of the buildings and the streets. Then they built brick arches on either side for support. They paved over those arches, and those became the brand new sidewalks, which are now even with the new street level, which makes this one level down or the basement level of the buildings above. That's why we have an underground. I know you're not there yet. Yeah, go ahead. I'm not finished, but go ahead.
I was wondering if vehicles went off the sidewalk.
They didn't really have, well, I mean,
Horses,
they had everything. Yeah, everything came up. Yeah, it was basically, I think pigeons are a problem today. Imagine shopping back then, yeah. Anything went off sides. Yeah, we emphasize drones because that's what we were like. Yeah, everything. Yeah, you were taking your life in your hands when you shop back then. Now, I have 2 tricks to top loose ends. You're going to get this. I take my job seriously. This visually was a very easy way to think of the new sidewalks. Try to think of the new sidewalks simply as bridges. Once again, you run I-beams a foot into the side of the buildings and the streets. You build brick arches on either side for support, pave over the arches, and you've now spanned or bridged the gap from the new buildings to the new streets. But that 10-year plan called for eventually filling in underneath the new sidewalks or filling in these tunnels. The city never got around to it. So the underground consists of 20 square blocks of hollow sidewalks or tunnels that run throughout the entire Pioneer Square neighborhood. Now, we don't own the spaces we walk through. The owners of our company, descendants of Bill Spidell, have to pay rent to go through someone's basement to get to the sidewalks. The sidewalks are owned, hollow sidewalks are owned by the city, but the building owners next to these hollow sidewalks can get permission to use this space. So at the end of the tour, when you walk through Pioneer Square, if you see stairs going down to a business, a bar, a restaurant, or a store, that's part of the underground. My favorite example is across the street from the underground on First Avenue, an amazing toy store called Magic Mouse Toys. Part of Magic Mouse Toys literally runs underneath one of the sidewalks of First Avenue. So they use the basement as part of the store, but they got permission from the city to extend the basement portion of their store out underneath one of the sidewalks of First Avenue. Try to think of that as easement rights above ground. This should do it. This should talk loose ends. Now, we put the Oriental Hotel sign there for good reason. At one time, that was the street entrance to that hotel. After the fire, the merchants did something very smart. Now, they knew eventually the streets and sidewalks would raise up. They just couldn't wait that long. So they got their buildings back up in 3 to 5 years, and they were back to business. but to be good citizens, to anticipate the eventual raising of the streets and sidewalks, when the merchants put up their new buildings, they also put an entrance on their second floor levels, knowing that someday the streets and sidewalks would raise up, they would lose this original first floor, then gain a basement, and be ready to go with the second entrance on the second floor. And they were so confident this would work out in the long run, when they put the entrance in down here, very plain, the entrance on the second floor, more elaborate. Why spend money down here? It's going to be a basement at some point. Put the money in on that second floor entrance. As a matter of fact, when you walk through the neighborhood at the end of the tour, there are about 50 buildings still exist. They were built after the Great Seattle Fire, brick and stone. Look at the entrances, mostly sandstone arches, very elaborate. That was the second floor of that building before everything was raised up. So now that you know about the tunnels, when we go back outside, I hope you're curious. I wonder if it's hollow as I walked on the sidewalk. Easy way to tell, skylights, glass skylights in the sidewalks. If you see a glass skylight in the sidewalk in Pioneer Square, that means below that, sidewalks are hollow. Now in this section, the glass skylights ran down the middle, but these have been cemented and boarded over because they're not structurally sound. We're going to cross the street in 15 minutes. We're actually going to stand underneath one of the skylights. When we get to that spot, I'll explain why they brought the skylights in. But I think you guys got the basics. Okay guys, let's go outside.